I'm Zach, I'm joined by Lewis and Marcus, and we are the 31 Days Wellbeing team. 31 activities across 31 days in January, all focused on wellbeing, hoping to raise £3,100 for Men Walk Talk. Day 22 feels again a long time ago now, but day 22 was breathing exercises, and we had a little bit of a collaboration for this one. So one of our friends works at Universal Production Music, and he suggested that we try out one of their new breathing exercises that is done to music. It's called Music Hacks. It's come from research from a doctor called Dr. Julia Jones, who's a neuroscientist, and the concept of it is breathing in for 4 seconds and then immediately out for 6 seconds, and that is time matched to the beat of 8 different genres of music. So you've got basically loads of different genres. So you've got pop, you've got electronica, you've got lo-fi, and it's a different beat for all the ins and then a different beat for all the outs, and you kind of sync up to it.
First thing to say is breathing is so powerful. I think for me, it is the biggest shot in the arm I can give myself if I have like 30 seconds to put myself in the zone. Maybe if I'm feeling a bit anxious about something, I actually already do that sort of 6 seconds out, 4 seconds in thing. So it was interesting to hear that it's backed by science. And then just putting that to music, I think adds a dimension because it guides you, it kind of holds you. I actually got similar vibes to the chanting because obviously there's an oral element and it's forcing you to breathe in the right rhythm. So again, with sort of feeling parallels come through across the month. I actually probably prefer the chanting just because it was a bit more out there. This was maybe a bit more accessible. I wouldn't feel so silly doing it in front of someone I didn't know so well. But overall, it was pretty accessible, didn't take too long. And as I say, it's breathing is something I already use to solve a lot of my problems, whether it's sleeping, if I'm in pain, if I've got a migraine. Guess what? 6 seconds out, 4 seconds in.
I found this just simple and nice, and it was something that I would definitely incorporate. I thought the music was actually very good as well. I was listening to the electronica one.
It's actually quite good.
Yeah, and I would listen to that music anyway as like a nice, calming, interesting style of music. So it was nice to have high quality because a lot of what we've done has been quite low quality YouTube tutorials. So having something really well produced was quite interesting, I thought.
Obviously, we had a bit of like a fun and different one by doing music hacks, but agreed. I feel like doing deep breaths and really calming my breathing when I'm stressed is the kind of the cheat code, which Lewis mentions in every episode, for just calming you down and getting you kind of back feeling present, kind of getting you out of your head and overthinking things and stuff like that. Just a few deep breaths. It's really useful. With Music Hacks, it is really accessible. You can just find it on the Universal website. And I think each one is about 2.5 minutes long. And you get a kind of intro at the start, teaching you the kind of rhythm of going in and out. And you can kind of follow along with it anyway. You can guess when it's about to change. So even if you can't count to 10, it'll do it for you. Fun. So day 23 was dinner party. We each invited 2 friends who may not know one another or anyone else in the room, just to sort of widen out our friendship group and just have a really nice time. We each cooked one dish. So I did the starter, Lewis did the main, and Marcus did the dessert. And it was just a really fun evening. I feel like it's one that, again, would just usually get overlooked and you can never be bothered to organise, and it takes a lot of thinking, but we did it quite last minute and it was just really lovely.
I mean, it was in your house, Lewis, and I think everyone felt really welcomed by you, and like you've got a great space. How are you feeling beforehand?
I think beforehand, we had some tech issues with the edit.
This was on episode release day, which is always a stressful one.
So there was that element of stress. So I didn't have much time to prep. I literally was showering when one of our guests arrived. But that was nice. I thought it was quite not as stressful as when I've had dinner parties in the past, because we kind of streamlined it this time. And having 2 extra hands in the kitchen doing the starter and the dessert was very helpful, I think. And everyone chipped in, did some washing up. But I thought just in terms of it being just a pleasant, nice evening, it went perfectly to plan. I really enjoyed it.
So as everyone knows, when cooking rice, you must infuse it with the smoke of Lewis's tea towels. I will buy you another one. So I was quite nervous about my dish, and I'm a little bit of a novice cook. I cook for myself fine, like I know what I can cook, but when it has to be elevated to dinner party standard, I possibly put a bit of pressure on myself. We tried hard, we aimed high, but at the same time we didn't overplan. We did just sort of charge into it, having just finished doing something else, and that has been the modus operandi throughout the whole month, and it's worked pretty well with some hairy, scary moments. It just always comes together, and I think that's a good rule for life, just sailing through things, just doing things, bias to action.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a nice point that comes out of it, just the fact that all three of us have had this kind of change into just throwing ourselves into stuff blind and seeing what comes out the other side without the previous, oh, I don't really want to do that. It's too scary. Well, it's kind of too out of my comfort zone. We're all just now like, let's just do it and see what happens.
Day 24 was singing/choir. We went along to London City Voices in Bank, which is one of London's only non-audition choirs, if not the only one. They sing often quite modern songs, so it's very accessible. You're not going to have to learn Latin, and we just thought we'd give it a go. We knew that singing is amazing for mental health.
It was the one we were least looking forward to out of all 31 across this month. We were terrified, and we was like, is there a way out of this? Should we cancel it? Whatever. But we went there, we did it. Again, it's quite nerve-wracking initially, but then we were actually a bit late, so we missed doing the sort of placement of where you're supposed to be. So we just got chucked right into it. Lewis and I, you obviously turned up and had to do the scary singing test. So how did that go?
Oh, it was about as bad as I could have expected. It was like there was already 100 people on there, and I went to see the coach, instructor, teacher, and he basically just said, sing. I did my best, and he initially thought I was a tenor. He stuck me in with the tenors, which is kind of a higher pitch. It then became quite clear that I couldn't reach that pitch. So he said, you're not a bass, but we can hide you better in the bass section. which was not so good for the ego. He actually frog marched me out of the church because I guess I was so off key, and he said, don't take this wrong way, I think I can help you. So he took me outside for some exercises, and I really appreciated it. He was and it did open my eyes to the fact that you do actually have to train your voice. We just spend our whole lives operating in maybe 10% of our capable tones of voice, but if you work on it and if you actually listen and push yourself, then your voice can span a much wider amplitude. Zach, I feel like you already knew this, or you were born a choir boy. It became clear that you were quite comfortable singing a really good bass, but also a really good tenor.
It's possibly nature. I would also just like to caveat that saying, and no, I am not. We were all, I was at kind of 0 out of 10 motivation for this. I thought it was going to be awful. And the beauty of this whole project is that I came out completely surprised. It was just very wholesome to hear all of the other much better singers than the three of us hitting all of the harmonies and how it all flows together when it's all 5 or 6 different groups all at once. So that was a fantastic experience. You were a bit unlucky because you got stuck at the front, whereas Lewis and I sort of hid at the back, and we're able to sort of nudge each other when we didn't know what was going on or if we lost our place. But everyone there was so friendly, and I wanted to make this really clear. Everyone was so nice. They were so welcoming. Like, even when you had to do the test and then he went out and tried to help you, people came up to us afterwards and were like, oh, you guys are new, like, nice to meet you, introduce themselves, do you want to come out for a drink with us after? And yeah, totally surprised. Like, this was going to be the worst one for me, and that might make my top 3 at the end of it. It's just shocking.
Yeah, so after we do the choir in the church, so we kind of had a little taster of that, but then afterwards went to an old pub, and you have a big session where you just sing along, and everyone was really welcoming. People were lending us their phones to go through the sheet music. I think the aspect of it that I found the most challenging was the pressure of you're in a choir with loads of people in a church and the guy is working on a song that he's arranged himself. If I felt like I was not getting it right and he pointed to the tenors saying, you guys need to do something, I'd be like, oh, that was me. Definitely me. Because then I mime it and then he would be like, oh, perfect. In terms of, I felt great afterwards, better than most of the activities we've done so far. I think the immediate bump to my well-being was very good, and it wasn't exactly, because a lot of what we've been doing has been about calming you and relaxing. It didn't feel relaxing at all. It felt kind of like a real activity, like doing a sport or something.
And that was the kind of the theme that we've been looking at for this week, is to move away from that kind of quiet, peaceful, internal looking side, and instead go for that expansion out and try harder to go and do more social things and to get out of our comfort zones. And this really kick-started the week. Come on over to my place. Hey girl. Hey girl. We're having a party. We'll be swinging, dancing and singing, baby. Come on over tonight.
Hold it, and laugh it out.
Day 25 was laughing therapy. So we've done a lot of sort of breathing exercise type things. And again, it's supposed to be quite calming. But for this one, we wanted to try one that was kind of happy and uplifting, such was the theme of the week. And so laughing therapy, you're sort of forcing yourself into laughing, and you get all of the well-being and the boosting effects and the energy boosting effects of kind of laughing your head off. And we all know how that feels when you've been laughing for 5 minutes straight. You feel amazing.
I was less convinced about this one compared to the choir and the breathing in terms of uplifting my mood. Partially, I was very self-conscious of what I was doing. I live in a flat. Well, I was a bit worried what my neighbours might think of me, like cackling around. But I found it was a quick way to just boost your mood instantly. But at the same time, I feel like I'd rather just watch a funny TV show that makes me laugh instead of kind of insanely laughing with some...
Such a good point. It's such a good point. But at the start, you feel like such an idiot. It was probably the most kind of like... what is this? Out of the 31 we've done so far, and I actually did this last year and I hated it. It was awful, whereas it was good in the end. You do get the benefits from laughing, and you do kind of feel a bit silly, and it does melt away any stresses, but God, it does make you feel stupid doing it. It was horrible, like particularly doing this one. I think we all did the same one, and being the Wi-Fi thing, I think you can see me breaking and actually laughing in the footage, just because I'm like, well, what has come of my life?
Yeah, I felt pretty self-conscious about it, and I was thinking it might make better sense to do it with other people so that you actually do break out into laughter at the ridiculousness of it. Because when you're on your own, you're just like, have I actually gone insane? Like, like I don't know at this point. So yeah, not one of my favourites, but I would say like laughing is like a big thumbs up.
Yeah.
Like just in life, to make a serious point, not taking things too seriously. I think that's something that came out of our event. Just seeing the funny side whenever you can, laughing at yourself, you always feel better for it.
Day 26 was left up to the viewers to decide. We put out the option to reply to a question on our Instagram channel suggesting different activities that we could each take on. Then between the three of us, we selected 2 each, which we thought would kind of be good for us. Put up a poll the night before and let the viewers decide what we were going to do. So my 2 were do an actual proper talking therapy session with, I was going to use BetterHelp, I think, 'cause it's the one I always see online, or a kind of very quiet night in with a takeaway, like duvet, film and something else. Mine was very close at the end. I think mine ended up with 51% played, 49% for the quiet night in. So thank you very much to everyone who voted for that.
My 2 options were conquer a fear or go to a petting zoo. Unfortunately, the petting zoo lost, and I had an idea for conquering a fear, but then I didn't think that worked. So I ultimately came to the conclusion that you can't conquer a fear in a 15 minute to an hour activity. It's got to be something that's worked on and thought about and considered. So I did look into how is a good way to conquer a fear. From reading on like the NHS website, it mainly said you need to identify them and come up and have a real plan that can take months to years.
Do you think that you might consider taking a longer view of a fear?
I think so.
Of this invitation from.
Yeah, so I did actually look at what my sort of long existential fears are and ways to mitigate them and to manage those fears in a better way.
My 2 options were mindful colouring and recreating a restaurant meal. And I was thinking... Okay, so I thought that... I think what this boils down to is the food that we appreciate from restaurants. Can we have it without having to pay for it? And what food do politicians always talk about as stopping Generation Z from getting on the housing ladder? Of course, it's avocado toast. So I thought, can I boost my bank balance by learning how to make avocado toast?
Step 1.
Step 1.
Toast.
I did do it restaurant quality. I put some lime in it. And it was delicious. It was absolutely amazing, and it looked really super presentable.
I can't wait to see what it looks like.
The tip here is you got to clean the plate with a tissue so that it doesn't look like it's covered in crumbs and things. To make a serious point, for the dinner party, I did actually recreate one of my favourite restaurant meals, which is mango sticky rice. It's my favourite all-time dessert. It seemed a little bit inaccessible because of the apparatus required, like a steamer, but I just thought it is genuinely my favourite dessert and I'm going to have a crack at it. The fact that it came out pretty well, I think it could have been better, was quite eye-opening and means that I will pursue other restaurant standard meals, because actually with a bit of time, with a good recipe, you can get pretty close to a decent restaurant, if not Michelin starred. Day 27 was a bit more of an abstract challenge, and it entailed any activity that gets you out of your comfort zone. I think of it as sort of concentric circles, whereby you've got your comfort zone, you've got just outside your comfort zone, and then you've got far too far beyond your comfort zone, and you just want to be in that happy middle circle where you're outside of your comfort zone, but you're not so far outside that you're actually going to have a bad time, maybe even traumatize yourself and stymie any growth.
So yeah, my relationship with my comfort zone is that in the past maybe 4 or 5 months I have changed my mindset, without sounding like one of those usual people, but I've changed my mindset and I've tried to do as many things as possible to get out of my comfort zone. I actually invited a couple of our friends to join me for the day, and we met up, and then I had asked one of them to actually plan my activity, so I had a complete surprise, which was again a bit out of my comfort zone.
Your challenge to push yourself out of your comfort zone today is we are going to go to Hyde Park Corner, where there is a spot famously known.
Oh no, it's this place, Speaker's Corner.
Speaker's Corner.
You can see the absolute fear in my face when Mr. Michael Tarpey, thank you very much for the suggestion, told me that I was going to go and do a talk at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. I was struck by a fear bolt as soon as he said it, I have to say. As soon as I got the other two on board, I immediately told them that they were also going to be joining me on it. It was actually really fun, and doing it in a group was amazing because we all got to sort of support each other and push each other to do the things that we had sort of been putting off. I went and did a 5-minute rambling talk on how there's a men's mental health epidemic in the UK, and it was basically just tourists walking past, and I had a maximum of 3 in my crowd. Lots of people just looking at me as though I was weird. But as soon as you get over that initial stress, you realise that nobody actually really cares, and the only person who cares is yourself. And as soon as you kind of accept that, you can push through it and get out of your comfort zone. So it was a really fun experience. Would I go and do it again? Probably not, because it was terrifying. Michael Turnbull sang a song that he had been writing, which was really nice, and I feel like his was the biggest push out of the comfort zone, so we were really proud of him for even getting up there and like singing out the words because no one had heard it before. And then Michael Tarpey did a monologue because he's been looking to get more involved in acting, and so he pushed himself to just go out and deliver a monologue that he'd been learning. Getting out of your comfort zone as an activity, even in itself, pushes you to go and do it. You don't have that putting off aspect that we have with everything else. You can't procrastinate away from it, particularly if you're going to be doing it with your friends. It was really good to just talk about something that I'm passionate about and put it into words, because sometimes it's kind of all stored in your head, and I just off the cuff went for it.
Mine was a little less extreme than yours. It was Saturday. It was I fancied going out, but I had no plans, so I decided just to go online and pick a random gig and just go to it. Didn't know anything, didn't listen to the music at all beforehand, and yeah, I just went to a gig on my own. I found it was a really great way to just unwind for the day. I thought it was quite a nice experience going on my own because I was really able to let loose and just enjoy the music. And it was nice. It was nice going into this weird subculture, which I wouldn't have particularly chosen myself, but suddenly you find, you're talking to other people there who have been following the bands for years, and you realise it's just pushing yourself out of the comfort zone to talk to strangers, to explore new music that you wouldn't normally listen to.
I've always felt pretty comfortable doing brain work, whether that be my job or when I was studying at uni. I haven't been quite as comfortable doing handy work, which might be fixing something, wiring a plug. And I've had hanging over me for a while now, putting some pictures up on my wall. My room's been completely bare for the whole year and a half that I've been in London. And one stumbling block has been just hanging some frames. So it seems like a small thing, but I just thought today is a good day to do it. And initially it was an absolute bloodbath. Like, I made a pig's ear of it and the wall was just completely destroyed. So if anyone at my house wants their deposit back, they might have to
look at you
think again. Yeah. But by the end I was actually working out how to do it, and it was quite a revelation actually that it's not a big thing that I can't do. It's just a thing that I haven't given the time to. And I've now got plans to do other DIY projects. Like, I'm thinking I'm going to build my new desk for my new job.
So day 28, which is today, we had our walk with Men Walk Talk, so the charity that we've been working with throughout the month. Unfortunately, the volunteer who was going to be leading from the charity fell ill this morning, so the email didn't quite come through to us, but we still met up in Richmond Park, which was lovely, and spent the day with a few people who had come along for the walk. Unfortunately, Lewis was also ill this morning, so I was unable to attend, and we just had such a nice time, and I think it was a really nice kind of close out towards the end of the project to see what all of the money's going to go towards. So go towards kind of the travel and the setting up for the volunteers and all the kit that they need, but also looking at paying for the website and the marketing and the staff that work at Men Walk Talk. So thank you to everyone who has donated. We really got to see what the idea is all about today, and I think I'm actually going to go and ask to become one of their volunteers because I had such a nice day. And because the concept is so simple, we just really got to know a complete stranger over the course of 2 hours. And at the start, it's obviously kind of slightly awkward and you just go through the usual small talk. But then by the end of it, we were basically like best friends with Tian, and we really got to know each other properly. And we were asking him for loads of advice on stuff that we were worried about, mixed in with loads of kind of banter. He was a very funny man.
I mean, stunning location. I guess that was the first impression before we sort of got to properly talking. I've never been to Richmond Park, but it's been on my list, and it was a stunning day, sort of a bit of a watery sunlight through the clouds, which just warmed up as the day went on and we were walking around, and lovely wide open spaces with sort of views through the trees to St Paul's Cathedral. Talking to people that you otherwise wouldn't come into contact with and actually delving into their life experience is just always going to be the most rewarding thing, especially some people who may be retired and they've had such rich lives. there's just such an untapped resource of fascinating, hilarious, brilliant people. When we were finished, we'd sort of walked out any stresses, and we're just feeling on top of the world.
Yeah, it's like such a simple concept, and that's why we love the charity, and that's why we want to help them out. And it was just really fun to go and experience it for ourselves, and I'm definitely going to be going back, hopefully as a volunteer, because I just had such a good day.